Good day and welcome to this special edition of Spotlight called GM's Corner, a regular series of short conversations with Lake Monticello's General Manager Steve Hurwitz about what's on his desk, his agenda, and on his mind. Mr. General Manager, nice to be back with you again today. Now, maybe you put away your flexible flyer. We got a little pre-winter surprise over the weekend that amounted to, I'd say, considerably more than the forecast dusting of snow. It's a heck of a dusting, if that. But was maintenance prepared for that amount of snow?
Maintenance certainly was. Tom Shatter and his foreman and the rest of the crews prepared for snow much earlier than this event, because there is a lot of detailed planning. They have some new people to train and get oriented, and it's actually quite there's an awful lot that goes into it. There's a number of vehicles. They have to make sure that they're covering every place they need to go and respond to certain things as they arise. So they're up 24/7 with everybody doing their part to coordinate it. So they have to talk about that beforehand. They can't just make it happen. In this case, the snow was a surprise. We were supposed to get maybe just a dusting, as you said.
Yeah.
It turned out to be much more. So the crews came out Sunday afternoon. Actually started not too much after it started snowing, but maybe about 3 o'clock they really got going. And they worked all the way through, virtually 24-hour operation. The vehicles were out and they were trying to cover every area. Turns out we did miss one street, and there was a call made, and they jumped on it right then and there. So we do appreciate people letting us know. As much as they do prepare, it is difficult with the number of streets we have to say guaranteed positively we didn't miss one. So I'd like to mention a couple of phone numbers for folks to remind folks, if they think their street's been missed, then it's perfectly fine to call. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah.
First, there's the maintenance, and that's 434-589-3563. And during snow operations, that phone will be answered, and we're able to deploy crews via radio. So that's one way. And then the front gate is always available. Now, the front gate, in addition to letting people in the community, is also the police operations center. So there we can dispatch officers to check on things, emergencies, down trees, and so forth, and then also to coordinate snow removal if need be as a backup. So as a reminder, that number is 434-589-3215. That should be familiar to a lot of people.
Should be.
But we'd like them to do that. You know, Judy Fish and the emails are an essential part of the communication, and we're all proud in this community from the benefit we get from Judy's ability to get the news out 24/7 and so forth. Still, letting Judy know about a missed street probably isn't the most effective way to do it either, in the immediacy of trying to get it taken care of.
Want to repeat the maintenance phone number again?
Sure, 434-589-3563.
Okay, great. And there was wasn't there a disabled car that kind of blocked one of the roads for a while?
There was, for I'm sure for good and sufficient reasons. Somebody was out and ended up going. There's a very steep hill in the vicinity of Vine Ridge and Jefferson.
Oh yeah.
And it bottoms out, and that person couldn't control the vehicle and ended up at the bottom, abandoned. That did interrupt some of our operations in that area for a while.
Yeah.
And there were a number of other cars. And what we'd also like to remind people is that it may not be possible for LMOA's forces to come out and help if they're stuck in the snow, because they are occupied. The police could be occupied with downed trees, other personal emergencies. And then, of course, the maintenance crews are very busy with the snow. So everyone should give a little thought to getting a vehicle towed privately, either through their insurance or through a local tow company. In that eventuality, we won't always be able to help them directly.
Right. Okay. Well, apparently we've got some happier news with food and beverage. There's been a lot going on, both at the pub and at Ashlawn. What all's happening?
Well, an awful lot is happening. Things are really singing here at the pub. Large crowds, great events. You know, the new decoration is very exciting. In fact, I'd like to invite people to come to the pub and take a look at something very interesting, an artifact that we've uncovered that has to do with the Lake Monticello Retired Police Officers Association, and I believe we still have many of those folks here.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we've come across a relic, so to speak, and it will be up on pub walls very soon. I'm tempted to show it, but I'm going to avoid that temptation.
Okay, all right. Let it. People have to come and see for them firsthand, see for themselves. But we've got some holiday-oriented events also,
yes,
don't we,
indeed,
for the kids and the like.
We had a visit with Santa the weekend before last, and it was great. We had a little less than 200 children come through. They all got cookies, so F&B provided the cookies. I understand they were delicious. I wasn't allowed to take one, though I wanted to. And there were an awful lot of parents and even grandparents visiting who found it a great event, a real sense of community and neighborhoodness. So that was terrific. And of course, we're grateful for Santa taking time out from preparing all those presents to visit us right here at the lake.
Big-hearted guy.
It was a great event. And Santa seems to have a way of commuting vast distances very quickly.
He does that, yes. He covers a lot of ground. And you remark about they're going to be starting a program of movies for kids. Yes,
we're going to try. Andrew Kerper in F&B is organizing, along with his staff, a family event that includes children's movies and popcorn in the pub. We're looking forward to the details being announced. We think that's going to be a very popular and exciting event for families of all ages, but especially those with children.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to look forward to, and of course the Christmas time is great for that kind of celebration. Once we get back on the streets, once we're able to see the pavement again, you mentioned that the markings have been completed for, I guess, the first of the walking routes, let's call them, I guess, from some beaches. And where's that happened?
Well, this has been in the planning stage for a long time, and we're very glad that the weather gave us about a 36-hour break, and we were able to get the first of the walking, hiking, biking marked routes done. And this one starts from Beach 3, so people can go to Beach 3 any way they can get there if they'd like to start there. And then from there, it's clearly marked throughout Section 9. The main street in Section 9 is West Lake Forest Drive. That's the major street that comes off Jefferson and runs all the way down to Beach 3. And from there, at every turn in the designated route, there's markings which look an awful lot like two footprints and an arrow pointing in the correct direction, either straight ahead or a turn. And so we're looking forward to finishing that, again, when the weather allows, with distances. But we think an awful lot of people are going to enjoy it anyway. The main purpose of this was to remind folks, give them a route where they could do that and stay off Jefferson. You know, Jefferson is a wonderful place to walk because it goes all the way around the lake, and I know people who run and walk all the way around the lake every day. I do, but many people like to leave their own residences on or near Jefferson and then go one direction, turn around, and come back. Well, this is a little different in that you don't have to be on Jefferson, so we think a number of people might like that. In fact, a number of people have communicated to us that they're thrilled about it, and whether they use the entire trail or part of it is completely optional to them. We think it's going to find a lot of use and keep people off Jefferson.
Yeah, as we've mentioned before, Jefferson, obviously, with such a heavy traffic load, is very difficult when you're mixing walkers, cars, bicyclists, joggers, prams, almost anything. And that can get pretty tricky because, of course, there really isn't any forgiveness to the side of the road. So
there isn't much room. In fact, we've got an unofficial Share the Road program, and that is just to remind folks of some things to keep in mind when they're on Jefferson, either in a vehicle or they are walking, jogging, pushing a stroller. The wonderful thing about it is that it appears that in somewhere near 100% of the cases where you have people on foot and people in a vehicle, the vehicles slow and pull over, and an awful lot of the people who can also step aside to make sure there's room. It's again, it's close to 100%, if not at it. But we'll be reminding people during these gloomy winter months about reflective vests, flashlights, and other ways to stay safe. That'll be an article in the paper to keep that in people's mind as part of our Share the Road program.
Most important, especially as it gets dark, what seems like about 1 in the afternoon these days. But anyway, serious note, we notice another Lake Community, a homeowners association, has experienced, unfortunately, a rather serious embezzlement. And this strikes up some memories of some years back. There was a big one over here at Glenmore some years back, and of course I'm sure people are wondering, what's our exposure here at the lake? What kind of safeguards do we have against this embezzlement from inside?
Well, that of course is a very natural and good concern that many people would have. We don't know many of the details, but except what's been reported in the press, and the latest that I read was that it's at least $450,000 involved, so a huge impact in a community with all kinds of ripples and repercussions. So we took note of that, and Chuck Wimberly, our business manager, who is a CPA, immediately ran through every one of our financial policies and controls to make sure every one of them is in place. That was our own policies in the policy manual. We also ran a checklist, Chuck did, that is, from a professional association for HO, Homeowner Association Management, a special little publication on internal controls. Chuck ran that. I reviewed both the reports. And what we found was that our controls are in place. I'll just mention this. We also have something here that's very unusual. We have an internal audit committee. And they do look at controls in great detail, one department at a time. In fact, they recently wrapped up barcodes, and we're working on suggested improvements and cleaning up things there, although they found it substantially in fine shape. There's an audit of golf going on right now. So anywhere there's money, eventually our internal audit, as well as the annual audit by outside auditors. So Chuck ran the checklist. I reviewed them. We talked about them in some detail. And we do have a couple of recommendations for the board about some of our policies that could be modernized a bit. Some of the policies are a bit old, to recognize the software that we now have versus what we were using when those policies were written. But we're able to report to the board that internal controls are in place and operating. On top of that, let it not go unsaid that the board is responsible for just about anything, including the financial matters. And our very excellent treasurer takes really very careful looks at all the financial statements. Then on top of that, there's a finance committee that really digs in, hands-on, and takes a look at that in great detail. So there's a layering of reviews and studies that are all appropriate and are in place. So I think people should feel good about all of that effort that goes into accounting for and controlling and monitoring every dollar.
I should mention, you know, I'm not talking about a homeowners association in Minnesota or something. This is, we might almost call our sister homeowners association, located not too far away, and basically about our size almost, so and a similar operation. But so it's worthy to keep in note. Just, you mentioned barcodes. I just wanted to double back for a moment. Last time we visited, we were talking about barcodes, and a suggestion occurred from inside the organization here, as a matter of fact, with Broadcast Group, about making barcodes available on a weekend or an evening, and I see that indeed we have made arrangements to accommodate issuing barcodes at the marina on Saturdays, is it?
In fact, that's true. Anytime the marina is open. In fact, there were, I think, 5 barcodes sold at the marina this weekend, And the data was turned in this morning, so that is fully in effect. And yes, I did it. I did hear that right in the studio. And it's a very logical thing to do. We're very glad to not only get that kind of recommendation and advice, but to put it into place.
Yeah,
so,
we'll publicize that, and that should be very effective for that group of that population. End of year, with a lot of things happening. Also, memberships on committees end in most cases, and so there are apparently some volunteer opportunities out there for folks who might like to step up and use their expertise.
There is. There's always opportunities in committees, sometimes competition for some of them, but anyone who's interested should complete a form. In particular, the contracts, the solicitations, contracts, and review committee has a number of openings, and that's an important committee for helping with contracts that we do to make sure we've got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and particularly that what we've done in terms of what we're endeavoring to do makes sense for the association from a contracting and business standpoint. So there are volunteers needed for that committee. Then in addition, there's a big one in June. In fact, June 29th of 2019, we'll have an annual meeting and election, and there'll be 2 vacancies due to term limitations, 2 openings on the board, and of course that's very important here, critical. The board's really responsible for everything that goes on. They have fiduciary duty, and they do an awful lot of policy, determination, reaching out to the community. So those are very important positions, and we're, ideally you'd like to have a lot of people interested.
Sure.
And I hope it works out that way.
More the merrier. Right. Okay. Well, that's good for something people think about, is stepping up into leadership position of one kind or another for the new year. Maybe they can make a resolution on that. And speaking of that, I'd like to wish certainly you and the staff, the entire administration, the entire staff, the happiest of holidays, with gratitude for all the work that they do in the interest of the members. So thank you. With that, we will basically call this mercifully, I'm sure you're saying. You've been watching GM's Corner, regular conversations with Lake Monticello's General Manager, Steve Hurwitz. We hope you'll look forward to future occasions to join us, beginning in the new year, regular schedule, and the rest of the programming brought to you by Lake Monticello's broadcast group. So until we see you again, on behalf of the broadcast group, I'm Ron Krause. Thanks very much for watching, and good day.